Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. A new poll finds most Californians are against cash reparations for African American residents. A task force on the issue suggests the state pay over $225 billion in reparations. A toddler abandoned in a stroller on the streets of Los Angeles. Police have identified the mother and emphasized the importance of baby safe surrender programs. Migrants from around the world gather at California's southern border, shared with Mexico. Some come as far as Africa and Asia. A recent poll revealed that most Californians are against the cash reparations payments to African American residents who are descendants of slavery. While conservatives are more united in the opposition, liberals are divided. NTD's Eileen Ang has more.
According to a recent poll by UC Berkeley's Institute of Governmental Studies, or IGS, the majority of California voters are opposed to cash reparations payments to Black residents. 59% of voters oppose the State Reparations Task Force recommendation to make cash payments to the descendants of enslaved Blacks currently living in California. Of those who opposed, 44% are strongly against the idea. Democrats and liberals were divided, while Republicans and conservatives were nearly unanimous in their opposition. However, most voters agree that the legacy of slavery is affecting the position of Black Californians. According to the IGS co-director, while many can empathize with the plight of Black Americans, not all of these feelings will translate into support for policies that address long-standing racial harms. In 2020, Governor Gavin Newsom created the nation's first reparations task force to calculate the costs of slavery and racism and how to make up to Black Californians. In July, the task force proposed over 100 recommendations in a 1,000-page document. It also recommends the state pay over $225 billion in reparations.
California government officials may soon be able to travel to states with laws affecting the LGBTQ community. Here's NTD's David Lamb with the details.
California could soon lift a ban on state-funded travel to states with laws targeting the LGBTQ community. The Golden State would instead focus on advertising to bring anti-discrimination messages to red or conservative states. Back in 2017, California started banning official travel to states with laws it deemed discriminatory against LGBTQ+ people, starting with Kansas, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Tennessee. The list has since grown to ban funded travel to 26 states. Democratic Assemblymember Rick Zabur said, "In many instances, the travel ban has inadvertently caused California to isolate its services and citizens in a time when we are leading the nation in ensuring inclusivity and freedom." Under the prohibition, elected officials, state workers, and university scholars were not allowed to travel to 26 states using California's funds. As a result, challenges arose for college sport teams who needed to find ways to sponsor out-of-state games. On Monday, lawmakers passed legislation to end the travel ban. The bill, introduced by State Senate Leader Tony Atkins, heads to the Senate for a final vote before landing on Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, where he has until October 14th to decide whether to sign it into law. In Santa Clara, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
Could California ban hand-counting election ballots? State lawmakers have passed a bill to do just that. Governor Gavin Newsom now has to either sign the proposal into law or veto it by next month.
A bill to end the manual hand count of ballots in elections is now headed to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk for his decision. Authored by Assemblywoman Gail Pellerin and passed on September 8th, Assembly Bill 969 would specifically prohibit an elections official from performing a manual vote count. It applies to any semi-final official canvass held on an established election date, where over 1,000 registered voters are eligible to participate. Manual hand counts would be allowed only if electronic machines are down due to natural disasters such as power outages or fire. Assemblywoman Pellerin's bill is in response to the Shasta County Board of Supervisors voting earlier this year to do away with the machine counting. Supporters have cited the cyber threats as the major reason for wanting to return to hand counting. But opponents fought back that hand counting would be prone to error and be more expensive. Shasta County Supervisor Patrick Jones said last week that the county was sued to block AB 969 if it's signed into law. The bill has largely passed on party lines. AB 969 is also an emergency statute, meaning that it will go into effect immediately if passed. Governor Newsom has until October 14th to sign or veto AB 969.
Some goat herding companies hope the state will provide the industry with more time and funds to pay its workers. The state hires companies that use goats to munch on overgrown vegetation as an eco-friendly way to reduce fire danger.
A handful of goat herding companies are hoping the state will provide the industry another 2.5 years to continue paying workers to help reduce the risk of wildfires across the state. Assembly Bill 143 would extend the state's special agricultural minimum wage of $3.79 per hour, based on a 24-hour day for sheep and goat herders until January 1, 2026. The state is home to a dozen or more fuel-fighting abatement companies that use goats to munch on overgrown vegetation to reduce fire danger. They are mainly paid through funds from the California Department of Forestry for their work. California's current minimum wage is $15.50 per hour, but herders are singled out in state law to receive a much lower minimum hourly pay because they work around the clock. Tim Aerosmith, who owns Western Grazers in the Northern California city of Red Bluff, has about 4,000 goats for hire for government agencies and private landowners. He told the Epoch Times that, along with the $3.79 per hour pay, companies must also provide housing, utilities, and basic living necessities, including meals. If the legislature fails to pass the exemption this year, Aerosmith says he would have to triple the wages, which would kill his business. The state Senate is expected to vote on the bill next week.
The Los Angeles Police Department is turning to local community for help in locating a mother who abandoned her child in a stroller overnight. NTD's Christina Corona has more from Los Angeles.
We're here in the Larchmont Village neighborhood where a toddler was found alone in a stroller just before 3 a.m. Tuesday morning. Behind me is the area where a woman found the unattended baby, but now the search is on for the child's mother. A passerby called to report a child abandoned at the 100 block of Larchmont Boulevard, located in the Windsor Square neighborhood. The LAPD confirmed finding a 2 to 3-year-old black female. A woman was with the child when officers arrived, but it is not the child's mother. Inside the child's stroller, the police discovered an ID belonging to the child's mother, conclusively identifying her as 25-year-old Tarji Alexandre. Investigators contacted the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services, as well as locating the child's father, but the whereabouts of Tarji are still unknown. The child was said to be in good condition and was taken to a local hospital to be checked out. The incident highlights the Baby Safe Surrender program in Los Angeles County, where parents can legally and safely surrender their infants up to 3 days old at any hospital or fire station with no questions asked. Parents can remain anonymous and no investigation occurs as long as the baby is unharmed. The child is then placed in the care of Child Protective Services or an adoption agency. If anyone has any information regarding the whereabouts of Tarji Alexandre, the LAPD is encouraging the community to contact the LAPD Wilshire Division. Anyone wishing to remain anonymous can call the LAPD Regional Crime Stoppers. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
At the U.S.-Mexico border in Southern California, a growing number of migrants from all over the world wait to be let into the country. Aid workers have been working to provide them with food and water.
Hundreds of migrants gathered on September 12th between two U.S.-Mexico border fences near San Diego, waiting to be processed by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Aid workers said the migrants had come from as far as West Africa, Central America, and Asia.
We basically have an informal, unofficial gathering of the United Nations. We have people from all over the globe. We have people from Cameroon. We have people from West Africa. We have people from Colombia. We have people from Peru, from Ecuador, some from Mexico. And we also have seen a high number of people from Asian countries, specifically from Vietnam.
Jasso said they have been there for a week and the number of migrants have been increasing. She and others provided fruit and cereal bars to children who reached through the fence. One man said he had been traveling for 6 weeks from Ghana to reach the U.S.
It's not easy. We started from Brazil. By land, it's not easy. The people of Mexico, they give us hell of tough time. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. Africa is hard for us, so that's why we are running out for persecution, you know. So me and my brothers here, we come from Africa, and then we are here by God's grace. America is a land of opportunity, and we are here to get a good future. We run from the persecution that we are after.
Groups of migrants sought shade under emergency insulating blankets draped over bushes or attached to the fence. The influx of migrants came as Title 42 expired in May. It was implemented during the COVID pandemic and blocked asylum seekers from legal entry, citing the introduction of diseases from foreign countries.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. San Francisco's annual Dreamforce conference is on their way. This year's focus is on AI as tens of thousands flock to the city. California makes the largest ever investment to combat organized retail crime. The state is setting aside $267 million for the effort. Parents of children who identify as transgender share the tough roads as they have traveled. We have more on recently published book detailing their struggles. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. San Francisco's largest conference, Dreamforce, is currently on the way, bringing tens of thousands of people into the city and millions of dollars into the local economy. However, the event has also brought the city's homeless and drug issues into the spotlight once again, with recent comments from the organizer's CEO. NTD's Jason Blair brings us more.
I'm outside of the Moscone Center in San Francisco for the first day of Dreamforce 2023. An event organizers describe as visionaries, AI experts, and global leaders all in one place. This is the 21st year for the annual conference and is the city's biggest. In 2022, 40,000 people attended, which brought $40 million into San Francisco's economy. This year, AI is the focus. Speakers include OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, roboticist Ayana Howard, celebrities Matthew McConaughey and Spike Lee, as well as California Governor Gavin Newsom and San Francisco Mayor London Breed. There has also been speculation around San Francisco remaining the host city for the conference. Late last month, Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff told the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, "If this Dreamforce is impacted by the current situation with homelessness and drug use, it may be the last Dreamforce in the city." This year, 43,000 people are estimated to be at the event, with another 200,000 attending online. According to organizers, $90 million is expected to flow into the financial district and downtown economies. Reporting in San Francisco, Jason Blair, NTD News.
California is stepping in to intervene in a court case that blocked San Francisco from clearing encampments. Newsom said the ruling has gone too far.
Governor Gavin Newsom said Tuesday the state will intervene in an ongoing federal court case that's barred San Francisco from cleaning up homeless encampments until more shelter beds are available. He says the judge has gone too far and is preventing the state from solving a critical problem. He previously blasted U.S. Magistrate Judge Donna Ryu in an interview with the San Francisco Chronicle, but had not disclosed his administration's plan to file an amicus brief supporting the city's effort to overturn the ruling. Ryu granted the injunction in December after homeless advocates argued the city had been violating the law by clearing homeless encampments without offering shelter and improperly throwing out people's belongings such as cell phones and medication. Her decision has drawn rebuke from Democratic leaders in San Francisco who argued in appellate court last month for a reversal of the decision. They say the ruling has made it nearly impossible to clean up the city's streets and that more people are refusing shelter even when it is available. Newsom, also a former San Francisco mayor, said he worked on cleaning up 3 encampments near San Francisco, but his staff stopped him from cleaning up a 4th due to a court ruling. California is home to roughly 1/3 of the nation's population of homeless people, a problem that has troubled Newsom since he took office. The governor said his administration has spent billions to clean up streets and house people, but acknowledged the stubbornness of the issue.
California to make largest ever $250 million large investment to combat organized retail crime. Hundreds of millions of dollars to go to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Sacramento, and Fresno. NTD's David Lam has more.
After years of smash and grab and blatant crime hitting the state, California's Governor Gavin Newsom seems to have enough of it, saying, "Enough with these brazen smash and grabs. With an unprecedented $267 million investment, Californians will soon see more takedowns, more police, more arrests, and more felony prosecutions. When shameless criminals walk out of stores with stolen goods, they'll walk straight into jail cells." Newsom announced this week, said to be the largest investment ever to combat organized retail crime in California's history. The $250 million would be divided to 55 cities and counties' law enforcement agencies. If approved by the Board of State and Community Corrections, the funds will be dispersed on October 1st to police departments, sheriffs, and district attorney offices across the state. 41 sheriffs and police departments, as well as 1 probation department, could receive up to $23 million each. And 13 DA offices stand to receive up to $2 million each. In Santa Clara, California, David Lam, NTD News.
Perhaps it's a story you have heard before. A vulnerable kid, maybe with some emotional or physical discomfort, believes the solution to their struggle lies in adopting an opposite sex identity. A book is now being released compiling the stories of parents of such kids and the trials they have experienced. It's called Parents with Inconvenient Truth About Trans, Tales from the Home Front in the Fight to Save Our Kids. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with 3 of the parents. 2 have their faces obscured due to ongoing issues with their children.
For Ellie, one of the most disturbing things was the medical community. She says there was basically no assessment before medicating.
My child had a 1-hour Zoom call with a social worker, and then was put on blocker.
The concerned mom says clinicians overloaded her with one-sided information.
They didn't talk about the safety of this stuff or the efficacy at all. Just, really confusing that they would expect you to medicalize your child based on such shoddy evidence.
And gave inadequate answers to her questions on criteria when trying to convince her to move forward with hormones for her son, hormones she believes would have sterilized him.
She said, "We don't have criteria. You just kind of get a sense of it. No criteria for medical treatments that will sterilize, kids who have a range of problems, some psychological problems, some neurodevelopmental problems. Kids on the autism spectrum are largely overrepresented by this patient population. So to not have any criteria, that's an abomination. That's a human rights violation."
Ellie says her son's mental state dramatically worsened while on blockers. Doctors recommended mood stabilizers. Despite her deepening fears and concerns for her son, she says the medical team kept supporting him to medically transition.
When you triangulate like that and you turn children against their parents, it blows up your household. It is such a destructive force.
Ellie eventually succeeded in getting her teen son off the blockers, but he soon got hold of illegal estrogen. It shocked her to find out that her son's pediatrician taught him to inject it. Jennifer's daughter began identifying as trans in 5th grade.
The school was socially transitioning her without our consent or knowledge. That's a typical thing that happens, that parents are assumed to be non-trustworthy without any evidence.
That's a theme Jennifer was to encounter multiple times. Adults she thought she could trust seemingly working against her. She gives the example of a therapist who informed her that her daughter was using male pronouns and a new male name. The therapist wanted to help her daughter come out as a boy.
It never occurred to me that adults would be reinforcing this stuff, especially behind our backs.
Jennifer says the laws about so-called transgender kids in states like Washington, Oregon, and California are a big problem.
They are saying that you can't question a child who says they're the opposite sex. You can't question why they might feel that way, or that's conversion therapy. And the therapist can then lose their license.
Jennifer's daughter no longer identifies as trans. Getting her out of the school was the first step. She discusses what else helps.
Connecting with family, having those strong family bonds reinforced are the things that I have seen parents do that are able to pull their kids out of this.
Josie says one of her son's teachers was actively trying to help him move out of her house once he identified as trans. She originally thought the therapist was on her side until she overheard a discussion between her and her son.
The therapist told my son that I was anti-trans and I was trying to find anything anti-trans, which I thought, who does that? So it felt like every adult in his life was putting a wedge between us.
Josie reads a passage from the book on the cornered feelings parents encounter in her situation.
You are the parent, after all, charged with the most important job of your lifetime, raising your child to be a healthy, responsible adult. Now you can't do that. You know in your head that this is wrong, but everyone around you tells you that you must affirm.
The newly released Parents with Inconvenient Truths About Trans, Tales from the Home Front in the Fight to Save Our Kids, features 75 essays from parents across the political, religious, and geographical spectrum. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gunjing World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.